Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be showing you the ultimate team of AI agents that can automate all of your work. So you can see I've given this assistant access to multiple agents over here inside of Lindy. So this first one is a calendar agent. So this agent has the ability to create events, check availability, find available times, update events, delete events, and get event details inside of my Google Calendar. And then my assistant has access to my email agent over here. And so you can see my email agent has access to my Gmail. So it can draft Gmails, it can find emails, send emails, and even find email addresses by person. And then my AI assistant has access to my research agent. And when we look at the research agent here, what this is going to do is search the internet for any topics that I want it to research. And I've also equipped this agent to create Google documents and even draft emails as well based on the research that it finds. And then here I have my content creator agent. So when we hop into this agent, what this agent has access to is a knowledge base of writing samples so that it can write in a certain person's tone of voice if it wants to. And then I have a prompt here that is going to generate tweets or LinkedIn posts based on that tone of voice. And finally, this agent has access to Airtable, so it can store all of that content right inside of Airtable for me. And then finally, we have our project manager agent over here. So this agent has access to my Asana account. So I can prompt it to give it new tasks with due dates and assignees, and it will add those tasks for me inside of Asana. So let's demo how this works. This AI agent is triggered natively inside of Lindy. There's no need for Telegram or WhatsApp. So it works by going into our task, and then we're just going to send our agent a message. Please research the best times to visit Paris and generate a report in Google Docs for me. So I'm just going to fire off that message to my agent, and then we're going to see what's happening in the background, right? So it understands immediately that this request relates to doing any kind of research on the internet. So it's telling me that I've delegated your request to the research subagent who will research the best times to visit Paris and create a detailed report for you in Google Docs. So let me open up this link and I can see what's going on in the background over here. Okay, so this is my research agent. It is now received the message directly from my ultimate agent. Okay, so this is acting as a sub-agent of sorts. So it's relaying the message that I sent, which is to research the best times to visit Paris. And now this sub-agent is telling me what it's going to do. It's going to research the best times and create a comprehensive report. So the first thing it's going to do is utilize Perplexity. So I've given this agent access to Perplexity to perform this research. And then it's saying it's going to create the Google Doc to organize the information in a comprehensive report. So right now you can see it's spinning here. It's doing the research inside of Perplexity for me. It's going to show me the prompt that it's doing. It's prompting all by itself. I did not give it this prompt. And once it's done doing its research, it should add it to a Google document for us. All right, here we can see that it's finished its research, and now it's saying, now that I have comprehensive research about the best times to visit Paris, I'll create a Google Doc to organize this information. And I didn't tell it what drive to put it in or what folder, so it's just going to put it in my basic Google Drive here. And now it's executing on the Google Doc creation with the comprehensive report about the best times to visit Paris. So right now it's creating the Google Doc for me, and it should kick it back to my main agent in a new chat in just a second. All right, we can see it's completed the document here, right? So it says I've completed the research task and created a comprehensive Google document. So if I want, I can access this document from right here inside of my sub-agent. So here is the report that my agent went out. It researched the best times to visit Paris. Okay, it gave me all of these details based on the research it performed in Perplexity about the seasons and the budget considerations and the traveler types. Okay, look at this very comprehensive report. Then it put it into a Google Doc for me and sent it to me. Now, let's see if it sends it back to my main agent. So if I go back to my main agent right over here, we can see that we have a new message here from my research agent telling my main agent, hey, I've completed the research on the best times, and I have a link to the report in here as well, so I can access it either from my sub-agent or from the main agent. All right, so let's do another quick demo and then we can build this out. Let's use our content creator agent here. Let's say we want to write a tweet thread about a topic. So I'm just going to come back into my task and start a new chat, and then I can just direct my agent right from here. Please create a Twitter thread about the benefits of AI agents for small businesses and store it inside of Airtable for me. I'm going to fire off this prompt. Again, this is my main agent, and so what it should do is route this to my content creation agent. So you can see here it's routing or it's delegating to the content creation subagent. So it says I've delegated a request to the content creation subagent. They will create an engaging Twitter thread about the benefits of AI for small business, and I'll receive the content shortly. So if I want to check in on this, I just have to open up my content creation agent over here, and it's already done. Okay, so what it's doing here though is it's not just creating this from thin air. I have it, so it's searching a knowledge base, and I'll get into this in a little bit. So it's searching a knowledge base of tweets, of a history of tweets from Greg Eisenberg, one of the best guys on Twitter. So it's going to try to write in Greg's style, right? So it's checking the style guidelines inside of my knowledge base. Then it's generating the tweet thread. Okay, so I've got the tweet thread over here. Then it's going to create this record inside of Airtable. So if I hop into my Airtable, what I can see is it just popped this exact tweet thread in here, right? So the future of small business is here, AI agents, right? And when I go into the tweet thread, I can see the future of small business is here, AI agents. So it put the entire tweet thread for me inside of Airtable. Not only that, it auto-selected the platform. I didn't even prompt it. So it selected the correct platform here for X. And so after it stores it in Airtable, it's going to tell my main agent over here. So I'm going to pop back into my main agent, and now I have a message from my sub agent saying, hey, I've created the Twitter thread about the benefits of AI agents. And I have a summary from my main agent here that the thread has been published and it's been pushed to Airtable automatically. All right, let's walk through quickly because there's a lot going on this screen. Let's walk through what we're doing here. By the way, if you want access to the free Lindy template for this build, you can find it in my free school community, which is linked below this video. But how does this work, right? What are we actually doing here? So I'll get to this part at the end, but what this is starting with is simply a user message input directly in Lindy, right? That's the trigger. Now you could trigger this with Telegram, you could trigger it with WhatsApp, you could trigger it with Slack if you wanted to. That's just a different trigger. But we're using everything natively inside of Lindy. So the trigger is simply a user message, and the way that you do that is inside of tasks. You click new task, and then you just start typing to your agent, okay? So that's the input here. And then what we're doing is we're using a condition here. And let me just take one step back. We're structuring this out with a main agent, and then below we have all of our sub agents, right? Calendar, email, research, content creator, project manager. And so we're adding a layer here, a condition, or rather many conditions, that's going to route the initial user message to the appropriate agent. So you can see over here, I have a bunch of conditions that is letting the agents know which path the user request should go down, okay? And then after the conditions, we have our sub-agents, okay? So I built this out using sub-agents in Lindy. They don't call them sub-agents, but that's effectively what I've done. So you can see I have a calendar agent here, and it's a talk with another Lindy. And so I created separate agent flows inside of Lindy, right? So this is my calendar sub-agent. It gets triggered by the message outside over here. And again, this calendar agent is equipped with a bunch of Google Calendar actions as well. I just added a Gmail action. So all of the calendar actions is going to take place inside of this sub-agent, and then it's equipped to send a message back to the agent to tell it that it's completed its task. And I'm basically just repeating this with every single sub-agent. So here we have our email agent. Here we've got our research agent. we've got our content creation agent, and then we've got our project manager agent here. And what I've done is I've just inserted them into our main workflow over here. And so all of the work is really being done at this level with these sub agents here. And then once it's done completing its task, what it's going to do is send a message back to the main agent system so that we know that it's done and we can check all of the work. And that brings us to this second kind of mini section that I have off on the top over here. This is how these sub agents are able to communicate back to the main agent. This is the best way I could figure out to handle this inside of Lindy. There may be a better way, but what this is doing is, so once the calendar agent is going to input a message, it's going to do its actions, and then it's going to send a message back to our ultimate AI agent team. And that step is configured with these two steps here. So we will get a message from the sub agent back to the main agent. But this is how it's configured. It looks like there's a lot of steps, but really it's just the kind of the filters or the conditions, as well as configuring these messages to come back to me in the chat directly. All right, now let's dive into how I actually built this out step by step. I'm not going to recreate the entire thing from scratch. That would take forever, but I will walk through all of the steps and all of the sub agents. And again, the template is in my free community for you to check out as well. So again, it all starts with a user message. So this is just a trigger, right? When you add a trigger inside of Lindy, you'll see it pop up here. I already have it as my trigger, so it's not going to pop up twice, but it's just a user message here. So that is going to start off the whole flow. Then how do we route it to the right agent? I experimented with a couple different steps here. I tried using a separate AI agent to make the decision, but what actually ended up working best here was a condition. So after the user message, I added a step here, which is a condition, and let's look into what's going on over here. So again, I have 5 sub agents, so I have 5 conditions as well. And I'm telling the conditions, right? So go down this path if, right? And this is all based on the user's message, right? So the first one is if the user's request relates to managing the user's email, right? Then it's going to hit the email agent. The second one is if the user's request relates to checking or managing the calendar. The third one is if it relates to doing any kind of research on the internet. And then I've got another one here about creating content for social media. And then the last one is managing projects in Asana. So this condition is really important here because it's going to determine which sub agent should receive the task. Okay, so that's really the second step here. And now, of course, our next layer is this layer of sub agents. Okay, so how do you actually build this out inside of Lindy? So what you would do is create a new Lindy for each sub agent, right? So you can see I have a calendar agent here, and this is its own standalone Lindy that can be called from any other workflow. All right, so I created a brand new Lindy, and the way that this gets triggered is by talking with another Lindy. Okay, so again, I don't know if it's going to allow me to add this trigger again, but let me search for it. So when I add trigger, it will. So under triggers, it's not chat with this Lindy, it's talk with another Lindy. Okay, so let me just delete this. That's what's being triggered here, right? So it's taking a message from another Lindy. Now, how is that configured? It's this step over here, right? It's this calendar agent step. So this is another talk with Lindy, send a message to another Lindy. And so you want to make sure you select that when you talk to another Lindy here, send a message to another Lindy. And again, this is on my main agent page. And when you do that, you have a drop down here of agents that you can choose from that are using the talk with Lindy as an input, right? So you can see my calendar sub agent is using this message received as an input. And therefore, when I go into my agent step over here to talk with another Lindy, you'll see it's here available in the dropdown. So now when the message gets routed, it's going to hit this calendar agent, which is going to take that message as the input. Actually, let me show you this step and how you can do it, because that might have been slightly confusing. So again, what you want to do is set up your sub agent. All right, so I'm in a brand new Lindy. Let's just call this sub agent test. And again, we want to set this as a trigger where it's going to input a message from another Lindy, the main Lindy. All right, so I'm in a brand new Lindy here. I'm going to select a trigger. And what I want to select here is talk with another Lindy and then message received. Okay, and that's it, right? So obviously you would build out the rest of the steps here. But in terms of receiving the message, this sub-agent test is actually ready to go. I just need to do another step. Let me just do a Gmail step here because I do need a connection in order to turn this on. All right, so I've got my sub agent set up, and now what you do to get this on your main agent, right? So let's say I'm going to go back to my main agent and let's add another action over here. So let's add an action, and what you want to do here is talk with another Lindy and then send a message to the Lindy. Now you can see when I do it here from the main agent, I'm now able to select the other agent. So I'm probably going to have to refresh here in order to see that new one. So give me a second. All right, so you can see now that the sub agent test pops up as a selection. So right now, what this is going to do is whenever this gets triggered, it's going to send the message directly to my sub agent over here, and then it's going to start the workflow. Okay, so that's how you set up these sub agents in Lindy. It's best to set the sub agent up first, then come back to your main agent, and then you're able to select it here in the dropdown. All right, so that's how you get all of these sub agents on your page here. Again, make the sub agents first, like I showed you, then come back and add these chat with other Lindys. Now, once you have that set up, you have to actually configure your sub agents. So let's walk through this relatively quickly here. All right, so let's look at the calendar sub agent over here. So again, we're taking a message received from the main agent. It's going to pass that message to the calendar agent. Okay, so I have a prompt here that you're the executive assistant in charge of handling the calendar of the user. You have the ability to manage the calendar as well as draft emails. And then I'm telling it all of the skills that it has access to. Now in Lindy, you can give your agents different skills by hitting the plus button over here. Now you can see I've given a bunch of actions inside of Google Calendar, like creating events and checking availability. And just in case, I've given this agent the ability to draft an email as well. All right, so that's how I have this set up. And again, inside of Lindy, all you do after the message received is you click Add AI Agent, and you're going to get an agent that pops up looking like this. And I've given it all of these skills and all of these actions. And then after that, all I'm doing is adding another talk with Lindy step over here. And so what this is going to do is it's going to send a message back to my ultimate AI agent team, right? So my main agent over here, it's getting the message back with this talk with other Lindy message over here so it can send me a response back. So let me show you how this calendar agent works. So I can come into my main agent here and say, can you please book some time on my calendar for April 30th at 12 p.m. to make time to create the SEO audit? And then let me fire that off to my main agent. And again, we'll look at what's happening here. So again, it's meeting that condition. So it knows, because the message relates to calendar, that it's going to delegate this task to my sub agent. Okay, so let me actually come back to the flow editor first. So it's taking the user message. That's the message I sent. Then it's hitting this condition. All right, so now it's going to hit this calendar agent over here. So let's come into the calendar agent. Let's look at the tasks. So here's the task that it just received from the ultimate agent team. Remember, the ultimate agent is passing this over to the sub agent. So now it's saying, I'll help create a calendar event for April 30th at 12 p.m. All right, so it has access to my Google Calendar. So let me hop into my Google Calendar, and you can see right here, I have a 12 p.m. SEO audit. So it booked that time for me on my calendar automatically. So it's saying it's scheduled the audit for the 30th at 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Now what it's going to do here, it's going to send a message back to me inside of the ultimate AI agent setup, right? So if I come back into my messages here, I can see up top a message from my sub agent, all right? So my sub agents are communicating to me through my ultimate agent over here. So it's confirming that the audit was set up on my calendar. Now, the way that it's doing this is, again, I have a separate setup right over here. So let's take a second to walk through this step as well. So again, in order to get the response back from the sub agent to the main agent chat, I had to get a little hacky here in Lindy and create this kind of separate flow here. So this is just a trigger, okay? Let me just do it right here. This is a talk with other Lindy, and it's a message received, okay? So that's how it's gonna start. It's gonna take the message back from the sub-agent, okay? So let's do that step as well. So you can see inside of my sub-agents, after they've completed their tasks, I've set up a talk with another Lindy and to send a message to another Lindy. So when it's done creating its calendar, it's going to send a message to another Lindy. And again, I did the drop down here for the ultimate AI agent team. Okay, so once it sends the message here, what I need to do is add another action, which is going to be chat with this Lindy, meaning the main AI agent, and I want to send a message. That's what this setup here is. So in other words, when my calendar agent or my email agent sends the message to my ultimate AI agent team, my ultimate AI agent is going to receive it and then send that message to me in a chat. I know it's a little hacky, but again, this is the best way that I could get the messages from my sub agents to come directly back to me in my main agent. All right, let's take a look at the other agents as well, because this video is definitely going to be dragging on. All right, so we have our email agent here. Again, all of these are separate Lindys or separate agents. So here's my email sub agent. Again, it's being triggered on a message received from my main agent. And then what I have here is an AI agent step inside of Lindy. Again, it's this right here, add AI agent, with a simple prompt here that you're an executive assistant in charge of handling the email inbox of the user. And I also gave it calendar access. But down here with the skills, which are these icons over here, you can see I'm giving my agent the skills to draft emails, find emails, send emails, and find email addresses by person name, as well as to check my Google Calendar availability, right? So once the message comes in from my main agent, it's routed here, then this agent is going to do all of the work in terms of Gmail and then send a message back to my main agent that it's done. So let's do a quick demo of this one too. All right, so I'm back inside of my main agent. And again, I'm going to start a new message here. And I'm going to say, please draft an email to Mike to see if he can grab drinks tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. All right, and I'm going to fire off that request. And we can see everything that's going on in the back end. It hit that condition. Now it's going to delegate that to my email sub-agent. And it said, I've asked the sub-agent to draft an email. They'll help compose an appropriate message. Now I can open up this link in a new tab, and this is going to take me to the email agent. And now I can see everything that's going on the back end over here. So it says, I'll help draft an email. I'll use Gmail. And it's saying I've created a draft email that's concise and friendly. Now let me hop into my drafts here. Let me refresh, and there we go. There is the draft email to myself here. Would you be open for grabbing drinks tomorrow around 7? Let me know if that works best. Now I could have this send the email instead of put it in the draft. That's just how I've chosen to build this out. And now it's telling me, again, we talked about this, it's going to send that message back to me here in a new chat. And so I've got the message back from my sub agent saying, I've drafted an email to Mike for drinks tomorrow at 7. Would you like to review the draft before I send it? So I can go back and forth with my agent here, but now it's drafted that email for me. All right, now let's take a look at the third agent, the research agent here, which might be my favorite one out of this whole build. So again, I'm just doing this with a send message to another Lindy trigger here, and that's going to start up this research agent again, which is its own Lindy. It's its own build here. And as usual, it's starting with the message received from the other Lindy. And then the main action going on here is this AI agent step over here. So I've got a prompt here that's pretty basic, that it's an executive assistant in charge of performing internet research. Your role is to perform internet research and report the results back to the user. You have access to Perplexity research, a web browser, I didn't update this, a web browser, Google Docs, and Gmail. So I've given it a few more skills since my initial build here. But again, you can equip these agents with so many different skills or actions. Let me just show you. If I click this plus button here, Lindy has so many integrations. It's impossible to show you all of them. And you can equip these agents with almost any action that's connected to another application. So we're just scratching the surface here. But for this agent, I've given it access to Perplexity and a web browser, so it can choose either one to research the internet. And just in the workflow that I'm demonstrating here, I wanted to send those results to a Google Doc. So I've given it access here to a skill to create a new document in Google Docs. And I've also given it Gmail draft access as well. Maybe we can try all three in one prompt. But that's the build here for the research agent. I have an exit condition here. So the agent is done once it's completed the task. And again, it's sending this message back to my ultimate AI agent team so I can get a message back over there. But that's the build for the research agent. It all comes down to these different skills and actions that I've given to it over here, but let's test this one out as well. All right, so let's test out this agent. Again, I'm back in my main agent dashboard, and I'm gonna say, please research the best running shoes for men, and then create a report in a new Google document, and then send a draft email to myself with that Google document. All right, so let's fire off this prompt here, and then we can see it's hitting that condition that my request relates to doing any kind of research on the internet. All right, so now it's done the delegation step, and it's saying I've delegated your request to the research sub-agent who will research the best running shoes for men. So let's see if it's able to create the Google document and also draft me an email. And again, the way that I can check on this is hyperlinked, this delegated to research sub-agent. So I'm going to open that in a new tab, and this is going to take me to that specific task inside my research agent. So this is the message that came in from the other agent, the main agent. So this agent now is working to research the best running shoes for men, and it's decided it's actually going to use both. It's starting with Perplexity, and then it's also going to use the web browser. So it's utilizing both tools that I gave it access to. It should be able to create the Google Doc, no problem. I don't know if it's going to catch that create a draft email to myself type language. I wasn't very clear there, but we can see what happens. Right now it's creating the Google Doc, and we can open up these nodes over here. So this is the query that I didn't set any of these fields up, right? I didn't have to map any fields or do any JSON. This is all AI with Lindy. The agents are deciding what should I actually search in Perplexity. I don't have to set up any fields, right? And then here's the web browser search. So best men's running shoes. I don't know why it used 2024, but it did. All right, so now it's saying, let's create a Google Doc with this information. And now when I scroll down here, well, it got the year right here. That's probably because of Perplexity. So here's the guide that it came up with in Google Docs. And again, with Lindy, you can click into every single step to see what it is. It's saying that it created the draft. What I want is actually a link to that Google Doc. So it's saying that it sent this back to me. So let me pop up over here. All right, so this is the message from my sub-agent. And let's see, it's saying it compiled the findings into a detailed Google Doc. All right, here we go. Best running shoes for men, 2025 comprehensive guide. It did that in about 20 seconds. So we've got our executive summary, top shoes by category, pricing, key features to consider, reviews and ratings, recommendations by running type. Okay, and it tells you where the sources came from as well. So we've got a nice 4-page report that my agent went out, researched, and generated a document for me right inside of Google Docs. Let's check the drafts. All right, so this is the draft from before, and I'll exit that out. But here is the draft. All right, so actually what it's going to do is give me, because I was not clear on my prompt at all, what it's going to give me is a rundown of everything it did with access to the Google Doc link. So this is basically a briefing of all of the research that it did, including a link to the document, but it's giving me all of the information here right as an email draft, all of that off a single prompt. All right, next, let's look at the content creator agent over here. Okay, so again, this is a separate build out, same thing, message received. And the first thing that we're gonna do is search a knowledge base. So again, this agent is responsible for creating content for LinkedIn and for Twitter, but we want it to sound in a certain style and a certain tone. And so what I did just for this demo here, Greg Eisenberg, one of the best follows on Twitter, I used Apify to scrape, I think it's 10 of his most recent tweets, right? So these are real tweets from Greg Eisenberg, and he has a very distinct way of tweeting. Okay, so this is a knowledge base that I'm gonna tap into with this AI agent. So the agent will check this document anytime it executes this flow, right? So it's receiving a message and then it's going to search this knowledge base. Okay. Once it's searched the knowledge base, I have an AI agent step over here, which is to create content, right? The content creation sub-agent is to draft content for the blog and social media. And then I've got some instructions here about producing the content based on the knowledge base and just another prompt here. Again, you can get the template for this full build out inside of my free school community. But we have an AI agent step here that's going to take that knowledge base, right? It's going to study the style and tone and format of Greg's writing here, and it's going to use that to inform it to create the content. So this step here is going to create the LinkedIn post or the Twitter post, okay? So we've got the content creation step here with an AI agent in Lindy. All right, next what we're gonna do is we're gonna send that to Airtable. So after the AI agent step, I've added a new action here, an Airtable action to create a record inside of Airtable. And so I've got an Airtable database up here just with two columns. I've got the content and the platform. And so hopefully what's going to happen is my agent is going to take my message. It's going to consult the knowledge base. It's going to write whatever I ask it to write in the style and tone of Greg. And then it's going to create that record inside of Airtable. And then finally, it's going to send a message back to the main agent that it has completed its task. So let's test out this flow. Go back to my main agent here. Let's go into task. Let's create a new task. And I am going to say, please create a LinkedIn post about the benefits of AI automations and then store it in Airtable. So there's the prompt. So we're going to fire this prompt off to our main agent, and it's going to hit that condition. And now it knows to delegate this to my content creation sub-agent. It's telling me that it's delegated the request, and they will draft the post and ensure it's stored in Airtable. I'll keep you updated on the progress. And again, we can just right click and open this into a new tab. And now we're inside the content creation sub-agent. We can see it's already written the post, but it's intaking the message from the main agent. Now it's going to hit the knowledge base, right? And again, this knowledge base is all of Greg, or not all of his tweets, 10 of his more recent tweets. Now it's saying, based on the knowledge base and the writing styles shown, I'll create a LinkedIn post about AI automation benefits that captures the dynamic, forward-thinking tone while highlighting key transformative aspects, okay? And here is our LinkedIn post. The future of work isn't about replacing humans, it's about infinite leverage. Here's what AI automation really looks like in 2025. Your CRM works while you sleep. This actually does sound like Greg if you follow him on Twitter. Customer support becomes superhuman. Marketing that thinks, proactive customer support. All right, so we've got our LinkedIn post here. Now let's see if it actually put this into Airtable. So it kind of is like asking itself, would you like me to proceed with storing this in Airtable? And now it's saying that it did create the record. Let's hop in to Airtable and we can see our record is over here. And here it is. The future of work isn't about replacing humans. It's about infinite leverage. Here's what AI automation really looks like in 2025. So not only did it store it in Airtable, it hit the correct platform. I didn't prompt it at all, but you can see here I have a drop down for X and LinkedIn, and it auto selected the drop down in Airtable with zero configuration on my end. I did not configure anything in Airtable except selecting the base and the table, but it was able to store that in Airtable, select the correct platform. Again, I think the actual content, it did a really good job following the knowledge base and following the style and tone of Greg's tweets. All right, let's take a look at the last agent here, which is our project manager agent. So again, I've got this set up as a separate Lindy, a separate agent, same configuration here. And in this project manager agent step, I had the wrong name here. I have a prompt here that you're in charge of managing projects for the user. Your task is to pass the request off to the next step, which is creating a new task in Asana. So this agent is going to input the message received, and then it's going to pass that on to an Asana task here. So I have a separate task here as a trigger, as an action, okay? And the only things that I've configured here in Asana is the workspace and the project. Everything else, I'm going to let the AI take care of and see if it can use natural language to fill in the date and maybe even the assignee. Now, I'll be honest, you could do a little bit more here with this project manager agent. You could send something back to Slack. You could use another integration with another app, but I'm just going to keep it simple for now just to show you the capabilities. So what I'm going to do is hop back into my Ultimate AI agent here. Let's fire up a new task and let's say, please create a new task for me in Asana to film the YouTube video for Wednesday, April 30th. All right, I actually don't even know if April 30th is a Wednesday, but let's fire off this prompt and let's see how the agents handle it. All right, so it's hitting the condition. It's going to delegate this to the project manager to create a new task for filming my video on Wednesday, April 30th. Let's open up the project manager in a new window over here, and we can see that it's going to get to work. All right, so it's saying, it's kind of confirming the task here, and we can see it's already created the task. Let's see. All right. So it did create the task to film YouTube video. We have the due date for Wednesday, which is the 30th. I forgot to give it an assignee, but that's okay. And so you can see this agent took the prompt and easily created a brand new task for me right inside of Asana. So I hope you enjoyed this build out of the Ultimate AI Agent team. If you did, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments below what kind of build out you want to see next.